G'day everybody, and welcome to the Risky Rollers podcast. I'm Dalton, and I am joined once again by returning guest Billy from Greater Good Miniature Games.
What's up?
Hey, it's good to have you back, mate.
It's good to
We've
be
been
back.
chatting on and off a bit for a while, sort of behind the scenes, and it's great to have you on the podcast finally. We've tried to organise it a few times, with a few different things.
Just keep missing each other, unfortunately. Life gets in the way.
It always does. But so today we're going to be talking a little bit about what you've been up to, and then about the new Imperium Magazine and actually different entry points to the hobby as a whole, and where are some good ways to get started and good things to sort of lead your friends to if you want to get them involved.
Yeah,
Before we get into all of that, I've got a couple of plugs to get through very quickly. Huge thanks to Tim at Dice Arcade for being the official sponsor of Risky Rollers. We'll hear more from him a bit later, but if you want great discounts of fantastic miniature hobby products, hit him up down in the description below. Code down there for an extra discount as well. Also, massive thanks to Miniature Scenery, the newest sponsor of the channel. If you want high quality MDF terrain and even model kits, they do great stuff. Once again, link down below with a code for a discount. They're also based down here in Melbourne, and if you're an Aussie and you want some great terrain stuff and want to support local business, that's where you want to go. If you want to chat to myself, to Billy, to anyone else about all sorts of things, if you're new to the hobby and you're getting involved, jump on into our Discord. We've got loads of people in there. It's growing every day. Loads of veterans through to brand new people. We've had someone jump in there who's just bought their first kit the other day and just starting to get into the painting process and starting to get into playing. And they're in there and we're able to chat with them and help them out and just everyone get around him. It's great. So if you're getting involved, jump down in there. Finally, if you want to support us even more than just watching our stuff, which is fantastic, you can support us on Patreon. You get early access to battle reports, exclusive battle reports, extra podcasts, t-shirts, early access to merch and things like that, early tickets to events that we run. So yeah, it's fantastic if you want to get amongst it there. Speaking of events we run, we are running the Risky Rollers Open in a couple of weeks. There's only a couple of spots left for that one. I'll have a link to the player pack down below. And tickets can be purchased from Dice Arcade, from their web store. But the Risky Rollers Open is our premier competitive event. We've got 40 players over 20 tables, 5 games over 2 days. It's going to be good. We've got some of the best players in Victoria going to be there. I mean, for that matter, some of the best players in Australia, including some of the very highest ranked IATC players around, which is pretty sweet, according to the last season anyway. So that'll be there. It'll be ITC ranked with WTC style terrain. It's going to be great. I'm really excited to running a proper competitive event as well. So we hope you guys can get around it there as well. So I think that covers all of the admin stuff at the start. Now we get into the actual cool stuff where we get to talk to Billy and see what's been going on. So, as I like to start all of our podcasts, Billy, what have you been working on recently?
Oh, well, I'm actually doing a Grey Knight commission for a mate of mine. So lots of silver, lots of
Very
purple.
nice.
Really actually quite enjoying that. So it's a bit different. Other than that, I got my Eldar out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, been a very long time since I've looked at that. So kind of started working on that a bit. Other than that,
Nice.
just
Yeah.
been
It's a
pushing
good time to be getting into Eldar. The book came out, it was pretty busted, but it's been toned back enough people are happy with it now, so you can bring them out without seeming like an arsehole.
Yes, that was kind of a reason why I kind of put them away, is because they were broken. In my opinion, they were completely stuffed. I'm glad they've been toned down now, so I can get them out. Because no, I don't like being that bloke.
Yeah. But no, Eldar, they're still very powerful, but they're actually... They seem, that they're reined in just enough to play well. I had a fantastic game against Eldar with Death Guard at Victorian Team Championships a while ago. Ended up being a precise draw on points.
Ooh.
And it was, just a really phenomenal game. Both of us played it really well. Probably one of the best games I've played, period. It was really good.
Yeah, I haven't played. I think I've had one game in 3 years now. So I'm looking forward to actually like busting out something and having some stupid amount of fun. But other than that, it's just been content for the channel, really.
Yeah. So, your channel as well, as I mentioned earlier, you're from Greater Good Miniature Gaming. This is
Yes.
your hobby and Warhammer, but just modeling and stuff in general.
Yeah. It was. It's well, like I guess if we go back to the last episode, we did talk about it, but it started off doing battle reports like 5, 6 years ago now. And then I kind of forgot it even existed, and then yeah, I kind of once Warhammer Conquest came out, I started really pushing from there forwards, and then I just had this idea of like, well, no, it's a hobby channel, not just a like Games Workshop Warhammer thing. So I'll chuck a whole bunch of other crap in there.
Yeah, I've been recently. You've been putting up a bunch of reviews of Gundam miniatures, and
Yeah.
Gundam miniature kits. I've been watching those and really enjoying them,
Um,
as
if
well as your
I'll be the
yeah.
first one to admit that those reviews are absolutely horrible, compared to some of the people I have watched, who do them. But like, again, I find my style is very similar to how they were right when they first started. So, I've got some ways to go, but,
Well, I
they're
mean,
the kid.
as someone who hasn't had much experience with Gundams and sort of coming from the Warhammer side of the hobby, I like the way you talk about them, and because it's sort of I can see a lot of the things that I might look for, like a Warhammer kit, a Games Workshop model kit, and I can see that you're kind of mentioning how they're different or how they've changed in the Gundams, which is kind of nice. And then you've also
Yeah,
got a few speed builds you've been working on recently, which they're just really clean, nice videos to watch. You had a Gundam one, and then the Warhammer Plus Black Orc War Boss guy.
yeah. So the Gundam Eclipse, I was just playing around. I was like, I've got to, I've got to do something for the channel. Like, what can I do? I'm like, well, that's different. I might as well give this a shot. Um, Originally, it started as trying to do one of those ASMR style with the clipping noises and all that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
I stuffed it up royally and just went, screw it. Let's make it as quick as possible with some music.
yep.
And
I
then
mean,
I kind
it
of,
works for you.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I sat back, I watched the whole video before uploading it as I usually do, and went, you know what, I like this. So that's
yeah.
kind of just where that next one came about with that Warhammer Plus model. I was like, I'm gonna do it again, but I'm gonna try something slightly different with it. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's not just me. It seems like people do kind of like it if I can keep it under 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those little things that pops up, and you're like, oh, okay, I can spend 5 minutes watching that. I can watch that over breakfast, or I can, you know, watch that in a bit of a break from some, doing some work or whatever it is I'm doing.
Mm.
And it's a really, it was yeah, I was really impressed. It was a really nice one to watch.
Oh, well,
I'm
thank you.
keen to see if you any more that you're working on with those. And I know you mentioned you were trying out some other stuff with that Weapon Plus model as well.
Yeah, there's a part two coming to that, which is on the in the Premiere Pro at the moment. I'm actually doing my first painting thing.
That's pretty cool. I'm excited to see how that comes out.
Oh, me too. I lost half the audio, so I'm having to do a voiceover for that, which is
Very
fun.
nice. It's
Um,
a good start.
and then it's about half an hour long, and I can't cut it down any shorter. And I'm really like, do I just cut this in half? But
Well, I mean,
it,
it depends. If you've got half an hour of quality painting content, then that's half an hour quality painting content.
yeah, well, that's kind of the other side of that too. So, probably shouldn't have tried to do it the first time round with something that's so damn detailed. But it's a gorgeous model. Like, I'm staring at it right now. It's on my desk, and it's for someone who hasn't painted many orcs or hand painted yellow in a very long time. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, yeah. It's a sweet sculpt. Really lends itself to those colours.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, no, cool. I'm really keen to see how that comes out. And then I've also see up here you've got your continued Warhammer Conquest reviews, and then also you started on the new one, which has just become available in Australia, which is the Imperium Magazine.
Yeah, so I got out the Conquest, and I'm like, I've had it sitting beside me for a very long time. It's just in a small box because there's not many issues left, and most of them are like the last couple of issues are all multi-part.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
like multiple issues to make one model.
Yeah.
Like there's a, is it the Impulsor or Repulsor? What's the like Land Raider
It's the
Primaris tank?
repulsor, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Repulsor's across 4 issues, for instance. Um,
Nice.
and I just figured, oh, I got to get this finished. Like Imperium's out. There's no point of messing about with Conquest anymore. Sorry. Just get it done and dusted as quickly as I possibly can. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what happened there. I haven't touched Mortal Realms in like, I think since the first issue.
Yeah. I know I've
Uh,
got a stack of those that came out with all of the terrain pieces in a box in a cupboard here.
I've got all 80 issues sitting here in a box. Um, the terrain is lovely. Like I love the terrain
Yeah.
for the Age of Sigmar stuff. Mainly because I've already got half of it from all the Warcry,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's
All
kind
the
of a double
all
up
the
there.
Warcry terrain that's coming out is looking phenomenal.
Oh,
Like I'm almost wanting to buy the Warcry release boxes just for the terrain in them because
the
it's just
ne-
so good.
yeah, I don't have any interest in the warbands that are coming out in the next one,
Yeah,
but the terrain is just amazing. So
yeah, yeah.
I'll probably still pick it up there.
Yeah, it's so incredible, and just the variety they're able to bring into it as well. It can be like this dense, complex terrain, but without it needing to be like standardized and stuff like that for 40k.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what the rulebook is like in this box, the next one coming out. Just because I know there's some new mechanics going to go thrown in and stuff like that, so it'll be interesting to see how certain things get changed up.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be pretty sweet. As for on the what's been working on front, I've been busy with some Horus Heresy and plenty of Blood Bowl. So all of you on the channel know that we've been big on Heresy the last couple of months, and we're getting ever closer to actually having complete painted armies. I've been busy with Sons of Horus. I've painted up several. Oh, sorry, I've built several Vorax battle automata to go along with my converted Pravian as soon as the Mechanicum stuff gets rules. And I managed to shatter several of the ammo belts while trying to bend them into place, so that's always good fun. And then
Oh,
I've been working on a bunch of Blood Bowl stuff. I'm in a couple of leagues, the Melbourne Blood Bowl League and the Rural Urban Melbourne Blood Bowl League, or the Rumble. So I'm currently painting up a bunch of Tomb Kings for that. Now, you and I were chatting a bit before the podcast, and you've painted a lot of Blood Bowl, but not played very much.
yeah. Funny enough, it's just one of those things where people have come to me and gone, "Hey, have you got time to paint some teams?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's give it a crack." And I really liked them, so it's actually probably where my love of the Saurovins, the lizard team, has come from because I painted two completely different kits of that. One GW, I've painted another lizard team from um, a mate of mine got them. They're resin. They're from Spain, I think. I don't know what the company name is. They don't exist anymore. And they were
Okay,
lovely.
yeah.
And then the start collecting the 2.0 starter box when that came out, I painted that all up as well, and that was a lot of fun. Lots of feathers.
Yeah. The teams are so characterful, and there's so many, like, G-Dub teams are fantastic, but there's so many 3D sculpts and 3D printable teams, like other sellers that just make teams for them. And
Oh yeah.
amongst the community, it seems pretty much standard that, like, no one cares about if it's G-Dub or not.
No.
There's so much, because the game wasn't supported for 30 years by G-Dub, or 20 years, however long it was, and half the teams G-Dub still don't make models for. It's common. Everyone's like, yeah, no, teams come from anywhere. GW are one supplier of teams for this game, and that's it. They're one
Yeah,
of
the
many.
community. It's one of those games where the community really took it over, and just
Well,
went stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and
We're
the
doing this.
NAF, the big international organization that's, well, which is, I imagine, a few guys in a basement somewhere. The NAF that still publish like the current tier lists and things like that, as well as maintain a few of the teams that Games Workshop don't provide rule support for. They're still generally considered that's as the standard for how you play the game, as opposed to the current GW output. which is pretty cool. But it's also just an incredible game as well. Like there's so much humor and character in the rules and the way the game runs, and then the game itself is such a dynamic, sort of very fast paced. I guess like a board game.
There's so many shenanigans going on when you're playing.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it really is. So that's been good fun to paint and play that a bunch as well. And it's a nice little break from some of the 40k stuff sometimes, just to paint a nice palette cleanser of 11 or 16 players for a Blood Bowl team, and then that whole project is done, and I can get back to grinding out those Space Marines.
Yeah. You always need a palette cleanser just to keep that hobby motivation going, because you're stuck doing 90,000 Space Marines. You're gonna go mental. Like, you're gonna lose it eventually.
The Sons of Horus progress has slowed considerably once the first 20 of them were painted. But yeah, so no, that's been really cool. There's a bunch of stuff I'm thinking about there. I'm really inspired to try and actually make scenic pictures for it as well, which would be cool. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on there.
Look forward to seeing most of that.
Yeah, cheers. Now, our main topic for today, sort of come back around a little bit, is I guess talking about entry points to the hobby, and this sort of sprung from the release of the Imperium Magazine here in Australia.
Yes.
And actually a conversation I had with someone outside the hobby entirely who we talked about this magazine and sort of went, well, alright, so before we get into that, very, very quickly, the Imperium Magazine is one of those newsagents, sort of ongoing collectible magazine type things. The first issue's, $6?
Yeah, it was $6.
And then all the issues after that are going to be like 12 or 14 or something?
So issue 2 was $15, and I think issue 3 is going to be 20, but
okay.
I'm not sure, but that's been roughly the price point for every issue going forwards. It's a bit weird because issue 2, for every other time I've ever known it, was like $13. Was $20. So having issue 2 come out last week, being as cheap as it was amazing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those little collection magazine type things that you go into news agency each week and you buy a magazine, and it's got like a magazine booklet and then some accessories and then like some miniatures or some paints or something to go with it. And then if you buy them all, you end up with a nice big collection at the end of it. Or if you just buy certain issues, you might get certain things that you're after.
Massive collection.
And I was having a chat with a friend about it, and they said, well, is it actually a good value thing, or is it just like one of those things where if you, instead of paying this money each week to buy these things, if you just like spent the money on the models, that'd be better. Which a lot of those types of collection things are often like, well, it's a very expensive way to get something that you could do quite easily in a different way. And I actually sort of sat down and went through it and sort of went, well, a lot of the individual issues are incredible value.
Yeah.
Particularly looking at some of those Necron issues that are going to be coming out a bit later in the series.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes they're great and they're absolutely amazing. You're sitting there going, oh, like for $20, like I'm getting a $70 box, Yeah. But then there's
flayed
other
ones
issues.
are what come to mind.
Yeah.
Given that they're, I think, $92 for a box of flayed ones.
Yeah.
Or something like that for 5 models.
Yes, it's something disgusting like that. Yes.
And then for $20, you're just going to get a whole set of them.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Is it a whole set? I can't remember. I think it's 5 of them.
Yep. So that's exactly what's in the box.
Yeah, and you're like, for $20.
Yeah. it's absolutely phenomenal.
And the terrain issues are always worth picking up as well.
Yes, it's a super cheap way to get hold of like that very expensive GW plastic terrain.
Yeah.
Now, so overall, if you were to collect this for the entire thing and collect every issue, you would end up with a decent size Necron collection. Just at a glance, I'm guessing it's probably around about 1,500 points.
23.
2,300 points.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Roughly, like I'm talking. I don't know about point changes or anything like that. But I'd put it closer to the 2,000 point mark.
Gotcha. Okay, so essentially you'll end up with a 2,000 point Necron army with maybe a few options involved.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming it's a similar amount of points on the Imperium side. But it's a mixture of Space Marines, looks like Adeptus Mechanicus, and Sisters of Battle.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to those two.
Yeah.
I've always had a thing for Mechanicus.
Yeah, they're so cool.
I've had a very, very long time ago. I did have the starter box, but I ended up moving that on, and I've always regretted it. So, but yeah, I think that in itself, I think it's like 500 points of Sisters.
Yep. It looks about right. I'm seeing some Zephyrum and I think some Retributors down there, as well as some General Sisters.
But like I said, my point system is way off these days, so I apologize to anyone there screaming at me right now.
Yeah.
I think it's like close to 300 points of Adeptus Mechanicus.
Again, yep, that looks about right. I'm seeing some breaches there, and I think there's some Scutarii and a character.
Yeah, and then if you throw Gilliman in...
Yep.
With the
Marines, just casually, Gilliman's a part of this, so... Yeah. I imagine he'll be spread over like 3 issues or something, but that's still pretty good.
I would hope not, but you get what you get, really.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if Gilliman was 1 issue.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like, I didn't think they would do that repulsor over 4 issues, and one of those issues is just the base.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Stay tuned for that one.
So sorry. This is part of the Conquest.
No, this was the Conquest stuff. Yeah,
the Conquest magazine. There's a repulsor in that magazine, and the parts for it apparently are spread over 3 issues.
4.
And then the 4th issue in that run is just the base.
Yeah, just the base.
All right.
Which everybody kind of went, what? Why? Hang on. Yeah, we're this stupid. We're buying it. Like,
yeah, I mean, as a part of the collection, it's still pretty good. But like, as a single issue, you're like, why am I paying $20?
Yeah, for this? Why is this a thing? But
yes, and then it also, if you're buying the whole thing, you'll also end up with a pretty good selection of terrain. Probably about half of a table's worth. Like a small table's worth.
I do usually encourage people to buy more than one of the terrain issues.
Yeah.
Even though the terrain does get repeated throughout the whole series, so you end up with multiples anyway. But like, can you really have too many shipping containers?
I mean, yeah, shipping containers, you can have as many as you want. Like the buildings, the actual GW building kits are pretty good because they're semi-modular.
Yeah.
So you can build, if you get 4 issues with the same building in it, you can build 4 different building pieces.
Yeah.
You can combine them and make larger buildings. You can do all sorts of stuff with those.
Yeah, well, I think when the terrain issues were coming out, I got a few. So, but I waited for like the next week at the news agency I was going to. If they still had them on the shelf, I'd pick them up because I wanted other people to have the chance to get them.
Right, yeah, you're not going to walk in on day 1 and go, I'm taking all 5 of your issues and no one else can get them.
Yeah, that to me wasn't the nicest thing on the planet.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, the what is it, Ruined Factorum sets that are in this series, yeah, I'd be picking up 2 issues at a time, kind of a thing for that.
Yeah. And in the Games Workshop terrain is so expensive to start with.
Yeah.
Getting cheap access to it like this is really nice.
Oh yeah. So picking up an issue for $20.
Yeah. So I think we've established very well that as hobbyists that we are in the hobby already, and there's a bunch of stuff in this that we want.
Yes.
We can look at individual issues and go, this is an incredible value purchase. I'm going to get this issue specifically, and so on.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from the fact that we're in the hobby and we're doing it. So if you're in the hobby and you're like, I could use some Necrons or some specific buildings or some Space Marines or anything like that, I'd encourage you to go onto the website and have a look at the different issues that are coming out with it. And just sort of make a note of which ones you might want and chat to news agents about, whether or not they're getting them in and so on.
Yeah, most are happy to get them in if you talk to them and go, hey, look, this issue's coming out. Can you get it in for me? 99% of them will tell you, yeah, no problem. And yeah, like definitely I'd be telling people to pick up certain individual like options if they want to expand their lists for cheap. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. So as hobbyists, this is definitely a fantastic little product that we can sort of get behind and pick up some real good deals with. But the question that sort of came up was is it a good entry point for is this good for someone who's wandering through the newsagents and goes, oh, this looks kind of cool, and they start going in from there? Or if you've got someone who's interested in it but sort of not sure how to start collecting, or if you're trying to encourage someone to, hey, look, you got a bit of extra pocket money or a bit of extra, disposable income, you can put a little bit of money a week and sort of get some cool stuff. Is this something that you can direct them towards?
Definitely.
And I think it definitely is.
Oh,
so
yeah.
What we're going to do is we'll have a quick break and hear a bit from Dice Arcade, and then we'll come back and we'll sort of break down why this is a good entry point, what to look for, and what are some others around. We'll be right back.
dicearcade.com.au. All the biggest brands of miniatures and wargaming. Free postage over $250.
Thanks for that one, Tim. And if you want to grab any of your hobby products and stuff, make sure to hit him up with a link down below and a code to get you an extra discount at the store on top of the already discounted prices that Dice Arcade offers. So, back to the Imperium Magazine and an entry point. Mm-hmm. It's a phenomenal entry point. I mean, obviously, unless you're already set on collecting like orcs, in which case, go and buy some orc stuff. But if you're brand new to the hobby, or if you've got someone who's brand new to the hobby, typically your entry point is, oh, why don't you look at this $300 starter box?
Which is a lot to drop at the first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I mean,
how about you bring in, you buy a $70 box, like a single kit for like $70, and then some paints for another $30.
Yeah.
Like realistically, if you're trying to sell someone on getting into the hobby slowly, you're still going to ask them to drop at least $100.
Yeah, I mean,
or you're going to be dropping that to get them into it, or however that goes.
Yeah, and I remember getting into the hobby myself all those years ago. I walked in, got myself the Space Wolf combat box or whatever they were called at the time, and then not even realizing I needed to put paint on top of that. Like,
yeah,
it was a lot of money to drop at the,
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember the Necron Battle Force for $180 was, I think, my first like proper entry into it. And like, start collecting's probably similar to a start collecting these days.
Yeah.
Not a start collecting, sorry, a combat patrol. Start collectings were a bit smaller than the battle forces, but these days that's what, $240 to $280.
Yeah, which is
somewhere
like,
in that range.
It's a lot of money. At this point in time, that's a lot of money to be dropping, especially if you're not 100% sure you're going to be sticking around.
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, if I can turn around to someone and go, hey, you got $6?
Go get issue 1.
Yeah, there you go. You've got 2 characters, mini rulebook and mini board, all of what, 5 dice, 6 dice. Yep. But like you've got, $6. You essentially have everything you need to get started with the game, with the hobby.
You got 2 push
not any
models.
Paint stuff yet.
Yeah.
But other than that, you've pretty much got everything right there.
I mean, they're push fit, so you don't really need glue.
Yep.
You probably need a pair of cutters for it, but I mean, there are other ways of getting it off the sprue anyway. Or just go out to any like you can go to Bunnings and buy side cutters now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, for that matter, if you're introducing someone, you can probably go, hey, you've probably got 3 old cutters lying around. You can go, here, have one.
Yeah.
But absolutely, and there's still going to be those little incidental costs, of course. You need time for it, you need a space for it, all that kind of stuff.
But you get rules, you get dice, you get a ruler.
Yep.
You get
two character models that'll be sold for what, $40 each, independently, at least.
Yeah. Then I don't even know if the lieutenant is even available on the GW website.
I think he comes in one of the current starter boxes as well.
Yeah.
Along with some assault intercessors and stuff, which itself is in like $80 or 120 or something like that.
And the Royal Warden,
again, starter box with the Necrons.
And they're
in fact, I think they might both be in the first like basic starter box, which is called the Recruit Edition. Which, fun fact, is also the cheapest possible way to get Necron Warrior box. To get a Necron Warrior box. So it is $5 cheaper than buying a box of Necron Warriors, and comes with Necron Warriors and the Necron Royal Warden, and this Lieutenant, and 5 Assault Intercessors, and a terrain, and mat, rules, and dice.
Yeah.
So, very quick aside on that one. Don't buy Necron Warrior boxes. It's a bad idea. Just buy this and sell the Marines to someone. But yeah. So that's the only way to get them. Or you can spend $6 and get the 2 characters and all that. And for someone who you're trying to introduce to the hobby, and you don't want to freak them out with a $300 price tag on the introduction, $6 is fair and reasonable. If my mate came to me and said, hey, are you interested in... I'm really excited about this hobby, right? Like, whatever it is they're into. And I'm like, I've got no interest in it whatsoever. But they're really keen for it. And they're like, hey, look, there's this $6 thing you get at newsagents, and sort of get a taste for it. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll give it a try. You're excited for it. I'm keen to try that.
Yeah, and I mean, the rules in the magazine itself to teach you to play are probably some of the simplest things on the planet to not overload your brain. Like, I was reading them going, all right, I could teach my kids this.
Yeah. But I mean, that's I hadn't even thought about that, but like as a thing, if the rules, like the how to play sections, is well written like that, that's fantastic.
Surprisingly, yeah. They don't use proper stats like you would in the rulebook or anything like that, but they're stats enough for you to get a good feel for the units. So if you did ever get a rulebook, you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I suppose that's pretty cool, because if I was to teach someone how to play, I wouldn't be like, learn all these tables of comparative stats. I'd be like, no. I'd give them a model and I'd give them dice and say, your guy hits on 3 pluses. Roll some dice.
That's pretty much what it is
and
in the book.
So, yeah, sweet. So that's pretty cool. And for $6, you can essentially give someone everything they need to play a very simple, 2-model, not full rules game.
Yeah, and it even comes with a nice little mat.
Yeah.
It comes with the mat you can cut out the little strips, so you get objective markers.
Cool.
And wound counters.
Yeah. And I'm assuming like it's got a bunch of like lore and paint stuff in there as well.
So yeah, I mean, like, issue 1 literally covers your introduction to Space Marines and what they are, introduction to Necrons and what they are,
cool,
and then how to build your models. It has like the easiest following instructions there is. There's nothing really in there about painting just yet, because there's no paints.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it does give you a very quick breakdown of like each individual steps of painting.
That's nice, yeah. So it gives you a taste, lets you know that it's something that you can do with them, and sort of some of the basics of it.
Mm-hmm. And then and then it jumps straight into how to play.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
But so as an entry point, just as the first issue, it's great. But then the way it's set up to continue is that, so for the second issue has 3 Necron Warriors, I think a standard starter brush, and then a single a pot of Rune Lord brass paint. And it's a full pot too. The older magazines, Conquest and Mortal Realms, came with like smaller versions.
No, full pots.
No, they were full pots as well.
They were
Okay,
full pots as well. And I have to
I stand
admit,
corrected then.
I never had Rune Lord Brass. It's not something I've got in my collection until now. So I've got
That's
issue
kinda
2
cool.
about to go up. And I've actually painted the warriors. It's
Oh,
amazing.
nice.
I
Yeah.
love Rune Lord Brass. It's thin as anything, so
Oh,
multiple coats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it actually says to do that in the book.
Oh, cool. Well,
Um,
yeah, that's pretty cool. So it goes, all right, here's some chaff troop stuff that you can practice on,
Yep.
and here's the main color that, I mean, obviously it's teaching you how to paint them with the Zarakan Dynasty color scheme,
yes.
but they've got to pick one, right? So may as well do the poster scheme, and it's like, here's how to paint them. Here's your main color you'll need. You can slap this down. Like, obviously it doesn't come with a primer, and I can't imagine it tells you too much about priming stuff.
No. Most of the I've either skipped it, but other issues have never mentioned anything about primer.
I'm looking at the website at the moment, and they're like the section where it's like collect, read, build, paint, play. The paint section is them applying Macragge Blue to an unprimed Assault Intercessor.
Which
So
I
I'm
have to admit,
assuming, yeah,
I have done it without primer.
yep,
It goes on.
it does. It goes on. It's perfectly doable
It's just
for
not
a
recommended.
very basic entry point. If you're introducing someone, I'd just recommend that they grab a primer. Like, say, hey, look, when you go on a Bunnings to pick up your side cutters, grab some Rust-Oleum grey
Great.
primer while you're
Yeah.
there. Like, just so it's not perfect by any means,
but
but
it'll
it
get you
does
by.
start coming with paints. And if you're just, you spent your $6, that was pretty cool. Now I'm going to spend the 15 or whatever it was and grab the next one because, yeah, all right, I'll see how it goes. Oh, cool! I can put some color on these guys.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it's got little pictures in the painting thing of like coat 1, coat 2, and then coat 3.
That's really cool because I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen that before in an official like
No, neither have
publication
I.
where they're like,
And I
here's
was-
multiple coats of this.
Yeah, it was actually quite like I'm sitting there going, "That's different for you guys.
Yeah.
Good, thank you."
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And I've got a friend who's, I'm calling him a friend now, but he's only just started the hobby, and he's painting Necrons.
Yeah,
And he
awesome.
literally asked me, "Hey, what am I doing wrong?" And I've had a look at his and gone, "There's nothing wrong with what you were doing.
Yeah.
Have you looked at picking up the Imperium Magazine, get issue 2?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he went out and got more warriors. I'm like, "Practice."
Yep.
like it's $15. Have fun.
Yep.
So he was quite happy with that.
So yeah, and as you go on, you collect those. You get further sets that comes with more models and more paints. Some of them come with brushes and things and other accessories. If you subscribe to the whole thing, you end up with extra brush sets and modeling kits and painting handles and stuff like that.
Yeah, like if you go through
So
the full subscription
Yeah.
through Hachette, not through your
Local news agents.
news agency, unfortunately, you do get some gifts thrown in, which are quite nice. It
And
just
there's
means,
also then a bonus thing where you can sign up to like a premium subscription as well and get 4 other armies included as well.
guess
which are like-
what? You want me
Yeah.
to spoil that one for you?
Yeah, go for it.
Not available in Australia.
All right, well, scratch that then. Never mind.
So
If you're
plenty
lucky
of
enough
people...
to live in a country that GW can send shipping containers to on a regular basis, you can sign up for an extra few dollars and get extra armies included.
So every bit of advertising Hachette has put in all their magazines literally has here's the 4 armies you can get, just pay an extra little bit, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the amount of people who have contacted them to try and get it and been told no
Yeah.
has kind of made me go, there it is.
Yep. Yeah.
There's the bit that let me down. But we also didn't get access to that for Mortal Realms either, because that's where they
Okay.
introduced that.
Yeah.
It's disappointing, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you're getting someone into it, if you're new yourself, and you're looking for that, sort of going through it is a really good way. There'll be some issues where you're like, oh, this is half a model, and that will happen. And I imagine for some of the larger ones, like you get a Necron Catacomb Command Barge / Annihilation Barge kit, I imagine that'll be 2 to 3 issues of plastic there.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's an
But
issue.
then, as we mentioned earlier, there'll be some that are like just incredible value from a hobbyist perspective.
3 Scorpec destroyers and a pot of paint. Like,
And a plasma sight. Don't forget the little plasma sight.
and the
Very
plasma
important.
sight, yeah, okay. You know, stuff like that. Or try not to miss this one, anyone who is listening, issue 5. So, issue 5 with every single series has been a unique sculpt just for the magazine.
That's right, yeah. And there's a unique Space Marine captain for this one.
Yeah, and I have to
It's actually
admit,
a pretty nice sculpt.
it's
I kind
nice
of want to get a
looking.
hold of one.
Yeah, even down to the way the sword is, it's really nice looking.
Yeah.
So at least it's a captain,
Yeah.
rather than
Not another lieutenant.
no. And then there's just full sprues of miniatures coming after that, like
Yeah.
warriors upon warriors, and what is it, like a librarian, and things like that.
Yeah.
You get enough essentially to fit out full squads eventually.
Yeah. And
Which is,
that's the beauty of it, is that it's in small chunks. And I
Yes.
think the premium place to enjoy this product, the magazine, is if you're someone who has a friend who's in the hobby and the friend is getting you into it. I think that kind of experience where you're every week or every 2 weeks, whenever this comes out, you're getting... Actually, I should ask, is it weekly?
Weekly.
Right. So if every week you're getting a little bit more plastic and maybe a couple more paints and things like that, and you've got a friend who's really excited to get you into the hobby, and they're like, hey, here's your primer you need as well, and just giving you those little tips and filling in those gaps, which is a lot easier to do than teaching someone everything.
Yeah.
If you've got someone there who's just like filling in those little gaps and making sure your experience is as smooth and as seamless as possible, I feel like this is like such a smooth pathway into the long-term life-altering addiction that is Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, and it's a really nice, manageable hobby time as well. You've got a week between issues to sit down and either just build your models and learn to play with them, or paint them.
Yep.
And eventually, okay, you're going to have an absolute ton of them and a whole bunch of new paints to add to each one, but you're very slowly adding things to those armies.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice, manageable way of handling the hobby, rather than here's what's in the Horus Heresy box, like 90 Marines.
There's 40 Marines, 10 Terminators, 2 characters, a Dreadnought, and a tank.
That can seem pretty daunting for someone who's just getting involved.
Oh,
So
here, drop $400 on stuff, or $500, however much it is, and then spend like 2 weeks building it all, and then stare at like 55 unpainted miniatures that are all like, paint me with these 20 paints that I've made you buy straight up because you need 20 paints to finish them, whatever it is. Yeah, it's...
yeah.
And I suppose that then leads into the next point, sort of the final thing to talk about. What makes a good entry point into the hobby? And what sort of things can be done to facilitate that sort of that entry and that sort of coming into it? And I suppose to start us off, I'll highlight a story that was actually a negative one. And that's when I got into the hobby. And I went up to my first sort of game store to find out some stuff and that kind of stuff. I went in for painting advice to learn how to paint, essentially, and got some what I know now to be pretty poor advice. That it was essentially just, buy more stuff, spend more money here, come back next week, kind of thing. And I went from that, but from that I go, well, all right, so good advice, and someone who can facilitate your entry into the hobby without the ulterior motive of trying to sell you something, is one of the most important things, I think, for an entry point to have. Which is a weird thing, given that, an entry point is sort of like something that you buy that is a product. But if you're going to do that, having someone around who can take you through it, I think, is really important.
Definitely. And yeah, I think these magazines are a really good entry point just because it doesn't overload you with the information that you don't need at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah,
It 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 kind of holds your hand and pushes you through because you might not have friends, but you might always been interested in this hobby and want to get involved.
yeah,
This magazine system really would help you get through all that because yeah, it does hold your hand, it guides you, but it doesn't give you any really false information on how to do the hobby. It just gives you the necessary information you need to get through it in that section, and you
yeah,
don't get experience like having to walk into a shop and being told, "Oh yeah, well you need this $400 set of paint."
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
well, no, here's your models, put it together, roll a dice.
yeah,
Having fun? Good. Here's the next step.
yeah, yeah, and it's a really manageable way to get into it.
Oh, it's super
Yeah,
manageable. Like 20, like even if you don't count the first two issues, like $20 a week. And I know at this point in time things are a bit tight out there, but still, it's $20. Just don't have two
yeah.
coffees that week. You know,
I mean, yeah. I mean, depending on where you are in Melbourne, just don't have one coffee that week.
all that.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and it's not like you're getting models you can't use. You know what I mean? Like, you might
yeah,
go into a shop and be convinced to buy a set of models that are then not in the direction you want to be playing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's
So
just
yeah,
one of those.
that's it's a really good observation that you know the importance of having someone to step you through it. The fact that they've taken the time to make the magazine itself kind of do that is really good.
Yeah, and over, like, what, we're going on to how many years now? I don't remember. It's improved a lot since those, like, Conquest days. Like,
Yeah,
really has. Like, the information is a lot better. I mean, Conquest was start of 8th, I think,
it sounds about right.
and we're
And
still
probably a little
going.
later for us over here in Oz.
Yeah, so by the time 9th edition had come out, I think we're halfway through Conquest. Or
Yeah,
not
that
even at that
sounds
point.
about right. Yeah,
And it was outdated. At least with
yeah,
this and when it's come out, for now, it's still current.
yeah,
And you still get proper stats eventually once they get over the whole hand-holding thing of, I think, the first 4 issues. I think it starts to kick into the actual proper campaign. Because there's a full campaign in there. For like trying to take over a planet or defend the planet kind of a thing, and you sit there and it's a really narrative driven story kind of a thing each week. um, it's really awesome for that type of thing too, because you're not just
yeah,
playing and then using their basic stuff. You get the full stats
yeah,
eventually, so that's it weans your way into it to help you understand what all the crap means. But
yeah.
yeah, and then when you got a pretty decent force going up, like, you're ready to play another opponent.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and that's really it's a really good, like, it steps you all the way up to there, and then if you haven't got someone who's stepping you through it as well, you can then rock up to your local gaming store or your local club or whatever it is, with your 500 points that you've built up to that point, and you've kind of got all the stuff you need to just set up and start going.
Yeah, you've got that basic level of information there to then improve on when you do meet someone who, say, does know what's going on
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you're not completely in the dark. So
Yeah. And I mean, I think that sort of sums up my thoughts on it, I guess, which are that as a product for a hobbyist, it's great because it lets you pick and choose some amazing deals. Cool.
yeah,
As a
like
product that you can point to as an entry point, it's fantastic.
I can't.
Especially for someone who's undecided about where they want to go with the hobby.
Yeah, I can't really think of another really awesome way of kind of taking that first step into the hobby,
Yeah.
other than someone handing you an army, I guess.
Yeah.
But
And I
then,
mean, like, I think it'll be hard to find anything better than like someone personally going to you and going like, what are you interested in, and like taking you through that. But as a product, as something that you can point to and go, that will help.
yeah,
I can't think of anything better.
and not all of these issues are just focused on space, well, it is mainly just focused on Space Marines, but they
Yeah.
also go through the different other factions here and there, and too, like they give you little snippets of different races and things like that to kind of go, ooh, what's that? I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Um,
Those little snippets of lore and bits and pieces that'll just kind of grab your attention and catch your imagination.
yeah,
It's a really good way to expand that understanding of what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah. I suppose one other thing I'll mention with entry points, and this is potentially more of the gaming side of things, or like the communal side of things, is that the hobby can be a little bit, like the community side of it can be a little bit opaque. Less so nowadays with Facebook and Discord groups and all that kind of stuff. But for someone new, it can be a little bit opaque to actually access. If you don't know where the hobby stores are, or if you don't know where the local gaming clubs or how to find the local clubs and things like that are, it can actually be really hard to break into that community, to get access to it.
yeah.
So if you are finding someone who's just getting into the hobby or something like that, if you're at the local gaming store and you're playing a game and someone's just got their first few issues of the magazine, or they've just bought their first box of the Salting Necessors or Orc Boys or whatever it is, and they're in at the store for a game or something like that, have a chat with them in the course of the game, point them towards our Discord if you want to do that, but point them towards anything really, like somewhere that they can communicate with other people, ideally a community that to be a good welcoming place for new players. But if you can just point them towards somewhere where they go, that's where there are more people like us over there, talk to them. That's where you can get games in, that's where you can do this, that's how you can do that, just to try and reduce that opacity of the community as a whole, or the accessibility of it.
Yeah, and that's always been one of those things, is trying to guide people in the right direction towards the right community to keep them involved, because
Yeah.
not everyone is friendly.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. But if you even if you can't find those places, like where I am, there's nowhere even like the closest store is 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is a bit ridiculous, but...
Or where I first got into the hobby, I was, I think, a 2-hour drive away from the nearest game store.
Yeah. But
so
let's say
I got up like 2 or 3 times a year.
But let's just say you're collecting this magazine. You got a brother, you got a sister, hell, you've got a dad or a mum, or you've got a neighbour, half and half.
You got a mate from school, you got, yeah.
Yeah, you got half and half here. You guys can have some fun. It's one of those things where it's a really good way of, and we keep repeating it, but it's a good entry point into this.
Yeah.
And even if you've been in the hobby for forever, it's still a good entry point to this.
Yeah.
I sold all my Necrons very, very recently. They all got shipped to America. To a mate of mine over there. I'm recollecting my Necrons through this. I get the do a completely different paint scheme for cheaper than what I was getting. So what's the harm there? I mean, do I need the Space Marines? No. I don't.
I mean, no one in the hobby needs more Space Marines. They just spontaneously appear around us all.
I've got 7,000 points of Blood Angels sitting in a box. I don't need more. But am I painting these up completely different than Blood Angels? Yes. Yes, I am. And I'm enjoying it. So, yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good note to leave it on. It's in a rarely positive spin on some of G-Dub stuff. This is a really good product. It's well priced. It does what it's supposed to do really well. and it's good.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Is
if
it?
you're introducing someone into it, like this is a great way to do it.
Oh, highly agree. Like, is it
Yeah.
always worth $20? No. Like, a
Oh
pot
yeah,
of paint, an issue is a bit annoying, but you still need that pot of paint, and you get a good magazine with some pretty good stories in there to kind of make up for it. I must admit, some of the
yep,
paint issues were more content in the magazine that you're like,
that's pretty cool.
this is better than like a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it'll be a good little break week as well. All right, no new models to add paint to. I can spend this week adding this new paint to all my old models.
yeah, exactly. Like, I can catch up. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I haven't had a really good look. I mean, yes, all the issues have been leaked online just because it's been out for like forever.
Yeah.
But I don't think I remember seeing an issue where it was one pot of paint. Like, it's usually two
I think
or
it was like
three.
2 or 3 was the smallest I saw.
Yeah, which is really good when you consider there may be what, like $7 to $9 a pot now, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many issues, like pots of Agrax Earth, Astro Granite we're going to be getting in this one. I don't need any more, but you'll have a lifetime supply of it. I can guarantee it.
Yep, there you go.
Um,
I mean, it'll be good if you're doing up those scenic Blood Bowl pictures, getting one of those done.
yes, yeah.
You need
If
a
you
lot of
got
Astro Granite for one of those.
oh, if you've got a display board you're building, you're going to have enough. Oh, it's a nightmare.
But yeah, I think we probably end on that note, and it's good. And as an entry point, it's a really good example of a good way to get someone into the hobby. You
Yes.
don't need to tell them to drop $300 on a start collecting box,
No.
or a starter box. If that's something they're willing to do, then sure, those are a good value as well, and they're a good way to like get a real jump start into it.
And
But
the good thing
especially
now,
as a taster,
yeah, and I
works
mean
really
the
well.
good thing now is Imperium has been, it's more widely known. It's like it's more common knowledge that this magazine's out this time round, which is
Yeah.
really good. So a lot
because
more people
Conquest and
actually.
Mortal Realms just kind of happened out of nowhere.
Conquest
And it's
happened
sort
out of nowhere, and I was
Yeah.
every video I do is like, wait, that's a thing. It's like, yeah, it's a thing. Mortal Realms kind of didn't really exist to many people. Like, don't think people realized it was a thing in Australia. And then this is just everywhere, which is really good to see. Absolutely love it. A lot of people are just, have got it. And if you missed out and you're thinking, oh, great, if you're finding about it now, still go into your local news agency. They can order your back issues.
Yeah.
So if you missed out on issue 1, if you missed out on issue 2, just ask them to get it in for you, and they will.
Yeah.
Issue 3 at the time of doing this is not out yet. I think it comes out Thursday, but I'm not sure.
But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And now, if you're on the fence or you just want to see what's going on, make sure that you check out Billy's reviews and discussions of each issue over on Greater Good Miniature Gaming, link down below.
Oh, great! He's putting pressure on me to actually do the issues on time.
Might make some good use of that back ordering service.
Yes.
But yeah, if you want to sort of follow along and see what's in the magazines and get a sense for the way they run, he's got some great stuff up there on them.
Thank you.
And just check out his channel in general as well. There's some great other sort of hobby adjacent bits of the hobby on there as well. Gundam buildings, Gundam building, building Gundam videos, Gundam building videos. God, it's late. I'll get the words in the right order eventually.
Yeah, so I'm still not up on the lingo when it comes to Gundam stuff, but that's a thing. It's not going to be as common because I've actually got nothing left. I've got a Digimon. I guess I could always put a Digimon up there. It's still a
before even
Gundam
my
model.
time.
Oh God, I'm old. And every now and then I do like a making a thing to help you with your hobby kind of thing. I think the last one I did was like a remake of my wet palette from like 3 years ago or something like that.
Yep, you've got a making a wet palette too, which was a really good video on how to sort of very cheaply and easily make a wet palette with stuff you might have around your home, or you can buy for a few dollars.
Oh yeah, like stupidly cheap.
Such a good video, and such a good like tip to be able to do.
Or Lego every now and then.
I'm always a big fan.
Oh yeah, everyone should be into Lego. I don't care how old you are.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so make sure to check out his channel there. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Make sure that you jump into our Discord if you want to, get involved with things. If you're a new hobbyist and you want someone to help walk you through stuff, there's people in there willing to do it. I'm willing to do it, and it's just a great place to be and to get inspiration and learn stuff for the hobby.
Yeah, the Discord is amazing, guys. Jump in. If you need a hand, tag me. I guess I think that's how Discord works. I don't know.
Yeah, you can tag people. Yeah.
Or just shoot anyone a message. You'll get help straight away. Like, the community is great.
It's fantastic.
Everyone's willing to, pitch in and, offer some advice in some way or form. So,
yep, absolutely.
I highly recommend it myself.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm wearing a Risky Rollers t-shirt right now.
And if you are a more experienced player and you want to get involved on the competitive side, we have the Risky Rollers Open coming up in a few weeks. There are only a couple of spots left. I'm looking at the list now. It's very nearly full. At the time of recording, there's a few spots. I'm expecting only 1 or 2 left by the time this goes out. But there is a waiting list that you can be put on as well. That's a 40-player, very competitive 40k event. WTC style terrain, ITC ranked, all the usual stuff.
Unfortunately, I'll be missing this one, but yeah, people get involved because it'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the events we run are always a great time. Everyone has a good time there. So that'll be pretty sweet. So get amongst that if that's something that you're into. If you want to support us even more or get a hold of one of those Risky Rollers shirts that Billy mentioned, you can become a Patreon. Become a patron on our Patreon. And get access to a bunch of early and exclusive stuff there.
Yes, I do. I do really enjoy watching those videos.
Cheers,
before they do come out, it's actually quite a nice thing to sit back and. Guys, those t-shirts are really comfy.
Cheers, man. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. It's so appreciated. The fact that the people are actually willing to put towards what we're doing. I hope that I never lose the fact that it's just incredible. People actually want more of what we're doing. It's really cool. But yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you so much, Billy, for coming back on. It's been great to chat to you. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me back on here. I know we said it at the start. It's been a very long time.
It has.
But yeah, I look forward to doing this again sometime in the future. I don't know what.
Absolutely. Hopefully sooner than the last time.
Yeah. I know it's my fault. But yeah, so thank you for having me on. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you all for listening. Check out Billy's channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See you, everybody. Have fun.